In the quiet corridors of military command centers worldwide, a revolution is taking place. The battlefield of tomorrow isn't found in distant deserts or dense jungles but in the invisible lanes of network traffic and the complex architecture of critical infrastructure systems. As nations invest billions in cyber capabilities, it's becoming increasingly clear, hacking is not just a component of modern warfare, it's the future of how conflicts will be fought and won. The evolution of warfare, from physical to digital throughout history, warfare has evolved alongside technology. From spears to gunpowder, tanks to nuclear weapons, each technological leap has fundamentally transformed how wars are waged. Today, we stand at the threshold of perhaps the most significant transformation yet, the shift from physical to digital warfare. The digitization of society has created unprecedented vulnerabilities. Power grids, water treatment facilities, financial systems, and transportation networks, the very foundations of modern civilization, are now interconnected through computer systems. These critical infrastructure components represent high-value targets that can be attacked remotely, with minimal resource investment, and often with the benefit of anonymity. The next war will begin in cyberspace, declared General Keith Alexander, former director of the National Security Agency, in 2012. More than a decade later, his prediction is materializing before our eyes. The new rules of engagement. Traditional warfare is bound by geographical constraints, international laws, and the physical limitations of military hardware. Cyber warfare, by contrast, operates under different rules: elimination of distance. An attack can be launched from anywhere against targets worldwide. Geography is no longer a barrier to entry or a defensive advantage. Asymmetric capability. Small nations or even non-state actors can develop cyber capabilities that challenge superpowers. North Korea's Lazarus Group has successfully targeted institutions in the United States, and hacktivist collectives have temporarily disrupted government operations. Blurred attribution. Identifying the responsible party behind a cyber attack remains challenging. This ambiguity creates a gray zone where nations can operate without triggering conventional military responses. Plausible deniability. Even when evidence points to a particular nation, governments can claim deniability or attribute attacks to patriotic hackers operating independently. Continuous engagement. Unlike traditional conflicts with clear beginnings and ends, cyber operations exist in a perpetual state of low-intensity conflict, with constant probing, intelligence gathering, and positioning. These new paradigms have profound implications for international relations and security frameworks built around conventional warfare concepts. The arsenal of digital weapons. The weapons of cyber warfare are as diverse as they are sophisticated. Zero-day exploit. These previously unknown vulnerabilities in software or hardware can be leveraged before developers have the opportunity to patch them. 0 days are the digital equivalent of stealth technology, allowing attackers to bypass defenses without detection. The market for 0 days has exploded, with governments becoming major buyers. In 2022, the price for a single iOS 0-day exploit reached $2.5 million. This commercialization of vulnerabilities has created an arms race between defensive patching and offensive exploitation. Advanced persistent threats, APTs. APTs are sophisticated, long-term intrusion campaigns typically associated with nation-states. Unlike opportunistic hackers seeking quick profits, APT groups establish persistent access within target networks, sometimes remaining undetected for years while gathering intelligence or positioning for future operations. Groups like Russia's APT-28, Fancy Bear, China's APT-41, and the US Linked Equation Group represent the elite special forces of cyber warfare, equipped with custom-built tools and extensive resources. Ransomware and destructive malware. Beyond espionage, cyber attacks increasingly focus on disruption and destruction. The 2017 NotPetya malware, attributed to Russia's military intelligence, caused over $10 billion in global damages by permanently encrypting computer systems. While disguised as criminal ransomware, it was in reality a geopolitically motivated attack against Ukraine that spread worldwide. Supply chain compromises. By targeting software suppliers rather than end users, attackers can compromise thousands of organizations with a single operation. The 2020 SolarWinds breach, attributed to Russia, affected up to 18,000 organizations, including multiple US government agencies, by compromising a trusted software update mechanism. Social engineering. The human element remains the most vulnerable component in any security system. Sophisticated spear phishing campaigns targeting specific individuals have successfully compromised even highly secured networks by exploiting human trust rather than technical vulnerabilities. Case studies. Cyber warfare in action. The transition from theoretical to practical cyber warfare is already well underway. Stuxnet, the digital-first strike discovered in 2010, Stuxnet represented a watershed moment in cyber warfare. This sophisticated malware, reportedly developed by the United States and Israel, specifically targeted Iranian nuclear centrifuges. By causing physical destruction through digital means, Stuxnet demonstrated that cyber attacks could impact the physical world in ways previously thought impossible. The operation delayed Iran's nuclear program by years without requiring airstrikes or ground troops, achieving strategic objectives with code rather than bombs. Ukraine, the digital battlefield. Since 2014, Ukraine has become the primary testing ground for cyber warfare techniques. Russian-attributed attacks have targeted Ukraine's power grid, leaving hundreds of thousands without electricity in 2015 and 2016, government services, banking systems, and media organizations. These attacks serve multiple purposes, degrading Ukraine's ability to function, testing techniques for potential use elsewhere, and demonstrating capabilities as a form of deterrence. During the 2022 Russian invasion, cyber attacks served as a complementary component to kinetic military operations, disrupting communications and spreading disinformation. Election interference, information warfare. The 2016 US presidential election highlighted another dimension of cyber warfare: information operations. Through a combination of network intrusions, strategic leaks, social media manipulation, and disinformation campaigns, Russia allegedly sought to influence electoral outcomes and deepen societal divisions. This represents warfare targeting not physical infrastructure but social cohesion and democratic processes, potentially more devastating in the long term than attacks on physical targets. The strategic implications as cyber capabilities become central to military strategy, several crucial implications emerge. Deterrence in cyberspace. Traditional deterrence relies on the visible demonstration of military capabilities and the credible threat of overwhelming response. Cyber capabilities, however, lose effectiveness once revealed. This creates a paradox: nations must signal they possess sophisticated cyber arsenals while keeping specific capabilities secret. Some countries have taken to announcing the creation of dedicated military cyber units or publishing cyber strategies as forms of deterrence without revealing technical details. The United States Cyber Command, China's Strategic Support Force, and Russia's GRU units serve not just operational functions but strategic signaling roles. The offense-defense balance. Cybersecurity experts generally agree that offense has significant advantages over defense in digital conflict. Defenders must secure all potential vulnerabilities, while attackers need to find just one weakness. This asymmetry creates incentives for preemptive and preventive operations, potentially destabilizing in crisis situations. The situation parallels early nuclear strategy, when first strike advantages created dangerous escalation risks. Nations may feel compelled to strike first digitally during tensions, calculating that waiting leaves them vulnerable. Escalation risks. Perhaps most concerning is the unclear relationship between cyber and conventional conflict. What level of digital attack justifies a kinetic response? NATO has declared that significant cyber attacks could trigger Article 5 collective defense provisions, but the threshold remains deliberately ambiguous. This ambiguity creates risks of unintended escalation. A nation experiencing critical infrastructure disruption might misinterpret the severity or intent, responding with disproportionate conventional force. The future battlefield. Looking ahead, several trends appear likely to shape the evolution of cyber warfare. AI-powered attacks and defense. Artificial intelligence is transforming both offensive and defensive cyber operations. Machine learning algorithms can identify vulnerabilities, automate attacks, and respond to defensive measures faster than human operators. This acceleration may compress decision timeframes, potentially reducing human oversight of critical military systems. Defensive AI systems could identify and respond to threats autonomously, but the risk of false positives triggering automated counterattacks creates new dangers in an AI versus AI battlefield. Integration with conventional operations. Rather than replacing traditional military operations, cyber capabilities are becoming increasingly integrated with conventional forces. The concept of multi-domain operations envisions synchronized attacks across land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace. A modern military operation might begin with cyber attacks disabling enemy air defenses, followed by conventional airstrikes, with ongoing information operations shaping civilian perceptions throughout the conflict. The privatization of capabilities. The line between state and non-state actors continues to blur. Governments increasingly contract private companies for offensive cyber capabilities, creating a mercenary class of digital warriors. Meanwhile, criminal organizations develop sophisticated tools that occasionally serve state interests, providing governments with plausible deniability. This diffusion of capabilities challenges traditional notions of state monopoly on military force and complicates accountability in international law. Critical infrastructure as primary targets. As societies become more dependent on digital systems, attacks on critical infrastructure represent increasingly attractive strategic options. Power grids, healthcare systems, financial networks, and transportation control systems offer asymmetric targets where relatively small investments in offensive capabilities can yield disproportionate impacts. The potential for cascading failures across interdependent systems means that successful attacks could cause damage far beyond their initial targets. Preparing for the digital battlefield. How should nations prepare for this new era of conflict? Resilience over perfect security. Given the impossibility of perfect security, resilience becomes the primary objective. Critical systems must be designed to maintain essential functions even when compromised, with redundant systems, offline backups, and degraded operation modes. International norms and agreements. Despite challenges, developing international norms for responsible state behavior in cyberspace remains essential. The UN group of governmental experts has made progress in establishing basic principles, but more comprehensive agreements are needed to reduce risks of unintended escalation. Proposals include prohibitions on targeting critical civilian infrastructure, commitments to assist in attribution of major attacks, and establishing clear communication channels during cyber incidents. Public-private partnership. Unlike traditional military domains, most critical digital infrastructure is privately owned and operated. Effective defense requires unprecedented cooperation between government and private sectors, sharing threat intelligence and coordinating responses. Talent development. Perhaps the most significant limitation on cyber capabilities is human talent. Nations that develop educational pipelines for cybersecurity professionals gain strategic advantages that technology alone cannot provide. Conclusion. The militarization of cyberspace represents one of the most significant transformations in warfare since the development of nuclear weapons. Unlike nuclear conflict, however, cyber warfare isn't a theoretical possibility but an ongoing reality, operating continuously beneath the threshold of conventional war. As digital and physical systems become increasingly interconnected, the potential impact of cyber operations grows correspondingly. Future conflicts will be fought not just for territory or resources but for control of information flows, digital infrastructure, and the trust underpinning modern societies. The nations that adapt most effectively to this new paradigm, developing not just offensive capabilities but resilience, international cooperation, and proportional response doctrines, will hold decisive advantages in the conflicts of tomorrow. The future of war has arrived, and its primary battlefield exists within the networks, systems, and data that increasingly control our world. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, we'd really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. It really helps support the channel. And if you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Your support means the world to us. Consider clicking on the videos linked in the corners if you want to watch more.